Today we're going to be breaking down the absolutely horrific strike against Russian strategic air fleet and planes all across Russia with Operation Spiderweb. Operation Spiderweb was a clandestine attack with snuck-in drones into 4 different air bases across Russia that housed many of Russia's aging Tu-95s, Tupolev-22 supersonic bombers, and unfortunately, the very few remaining AWACS in the Russian air arsenal. I want you to sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and sit with me as we sip on Russian millblogger tears. It's gonna be insane. Unfortunately, with the way green screens work on TikTok, I can't exactly click and pause this video, but boom, multiple Tu-95 strategic long-distance bombers, all nuclear capable, severely hit in high numbers. Every time a drone cuts off abruptly right as they get to the plane, in really honestly well-coordinated strategic locations near fuel tanks, near engines, near cruise missiles that are still, that's the money shot, still under the wing, detonating one after one after one. It's just insane. That one was coming in hot. Every time it cuts off, that's an explosion. That one looks like it was hit, and then they're just making sure. You can see that little hole right there. But multiple different aircraft. Lots of Tu-95s, but Tupolev-22s, the supersonic bombers, you're gonna see a lot of these in these videos in droves. I don't know why they place, like, there's multiple reasons to say why they placed those tires. Maybe cushion, maybe to confuse AI, but as far as we're aware, these were all controlled with Ukrainian drone operators. Look at that, cargo plane. Damn, that's expensive. But you think all these Tu-95s are expensive? You think these are expensive? Keep in mind, in this war, maybe 2 or 3 of these have been destroyed. There's maybe 4, maybe 5 of these to exist that are left. Yeah, both of these were hit right in the radome, which is where the radar of the main dish. That's the most expensive part, and those were quite literally blown up. Yeah, not great for Russia in any capacity. 2 of their AWACS that they maybe only have 2 or 3 left. Look at that. The amount of cushioning. At this point, I could see how these tires could definitely diffuse a lot of impact, but when you have such control that you're able to go around them, there's even a cope cage on some of these wings. And even then, look at this, the ease that you're able to just detonate right there. No matter what, those are going to be severely damaged. And even the ones that are barely covered in tires, those are most definitely going to see most of the damage. Now, as much as Tu-25s are in plentiful numbers in Russia, this is still, again, one after another after another. It's just, and they did this without a single Ukrainian in country. They were controlling it in Ukraine. Russia can't deny and can't say that there were only 15 destroyed aircraft or hit aircraft, because there were more than 15 in the last couple of videos. I love how the weak point of a Tu-25 is that big giant wing, either 2 different places. You can choose either wing, the main winglet on the top, which is what a lot of these drone operators are hitting for, that little spine area right there, or hitting the pilot area, the very expensive and irreplaceable equipment that controls a lot of the different stuff, damaged. But the entire flight lines on fucking fire. You tell me that's only 15? Only 15 of these aircraft were destroyed? I'm calling bull. In this video alone, there had to have been, if not severely damaged, but at least 20 that have been completely totaled. And more, look at that. More and more drone foot. Is that another cargo aircraft? Damn. More and more satellite imagery of just the ground where these aircraft were, and they're erased. They're just gone. They're rubble and ash and melted metal and melted aluminum. Insane. Absolutely insane. I've been commentating on this war since the very get-go. Hell, the inception of my channel, for the most part, coincides with February 24th, 2022, when the Ukraine war first started. But out of all of this time, I'm quite knowledgeable and have had the privilege of knowing quite a few different people who've taught me a lot. And as far as I've been aware about technology and drone tech, what occurred in this video. Ready? Tu-95s, Tupolev 22 supersonic bombers, and even the AWACS that are very, very dwindling few, very rare aircraft in Russia. There were maybe 4 or 5, and now there are probably only like 2 to 3 left, which is a far cry from when they started the war, because Ukraine has had a very good time knocking those AWACS out of the sky. But let's break it down. This attack was the most coordinated, clandestine attack of any airbase anywhere. Not only did they sneak in those containers, not only did they get those containers to where they needed to be, not only did they rig those containers up that they could possibly sit for weeks, because they have solar panels. So now, every truck driver, every container, every little modular home looking piece of equipment in Russia is now being paranoidly searched to try and find more of these drones, because there's no telling. There could be more. Ukraine kept this secret for almost 2 years of hard work and planning to get those equipment and get those containers, get those drones on target. And I find that the most insane part about this. From what I can tell, those drones had landing legs, the big tubes that were filled with explosives, and I'm assuming we're really good on target because of the video we just watched. Multiple different types of aircraft. We got the Tu-20 or Tu-95s, the Tupolev 22s, and the AWACS. They were very well coordinated, hitting engine areas, hitting fuel tank areas, hitting the wings. If there's still cruise missiles on those aircraft, they're targeting them because the explosives on those cruise missiles are quite devastating. Entire flight lines burned to ash. Satellite footage and satellite imagery of just, well, ash heaps. Plane-shaped dark marks where essentially an aircraft used to be, but no longer exists because it's just a melted pile of scrap. Russia said only 15 aircraft were destroyed. I'm calling bullshit. If you want to go and count through the video with me and go down in the comments, and I want you to notice though, and we're going to be genuine. We're going to give Russia a little bit leeway because this is what I saw in the video. If you look back on that video, which by the way you can find on Twitter, really not that difficult. It's like a 4-minute, 30-second video. In that video, they had aircraft being hit. For the most part, they were not repeats, but there were some repeats where they looked like they had scorch marks on them and they failed to initiate enough damage. But then other fail-safe drones, which as you can see fail-safe on the screens of a lot of those drones, are going back and destroying those aircraft or even committing more damage to them. And even if you were to like damage them mechanically but they didn't burn, where are you going to get those parts? And to the aircraft that simply don't exist anymore because they're literally melted scraps of aluminum and composite material are just gone. You can't get parts or cannibalize those aircraft because they literally do not exist anymore. Now, if it wasn't for the Tu-95s, which are, again, haven't been in production for 40 years almost, the Tupolev 22s, which haven't been in, correct me if I'm wrong, comment section, they have been in production for a long time. And the AWACS, they haven't been in production for a very long time. In fact, they're a rare and dying breed of aircraft. There are probably 3, 4 left. And if anything, if they even fly, because those other ones didn't look like they can fly, those aircraft are irreplaceable. Billions and billions of dollars of aircraft were destroyed in mere moments. And I don't even want to know how nervous and how paranoid and how terrified Russia or the defense cabinet meeting that they had with his defense ministers and Putin just counting up the amount of destroyed aircraft. When this first happened, of course, there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of people trying to say this and say that. First figures were like 40 aircraft, which was like pretty steep, and I agree, we'd have to see some evidence for that. And for the most part, we've been getting a lot more evidence in edited videos with Ukrainian dubstep, which is kind of gangster. Then the figures from Russian mill bloggers went from 4 to 8 to 12 to 16. And now I think those figures are going to jump up quite significantly. I'm probably thinking anywhere between 20 and 30 either severely damaged or completely destroyed aircraft. I would love to get a satellite imagery on those 2 AWACS to specifically see how significant those strikes were, whether or not the radomes are just completely totaled, which those radars don't exist. They don't have spare parts. They would have to cannibalize other aircraft that are pretty much totaled anyway, and we're not even able to fly anymore, and we're honestly trying to just to keep those AWACS up flying. So any of the remaining parts that exist are not going to be of a good quality or just don't exist anymore. And not having AWACS or an all-weather radar system that could fly and monitor swaths of a territory to prevent Ukrainian strikes, this is only going to diminish Russia's ability to defend occupied Ukraine or defend near the front line and allow Ukraine more flexibility to strike deeper into Russia, which they have been doing this whole war. I don't care how you feel about the Ukraine war, whether you think this side did it this side did that. Russia striking with hundreds of drones and dozens of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles on civilian population centers is the response that Russia likes to do every single time Ukraine does something that Russia perceives as absolutely inappropriate, and we will retaliate. But Ukraine not only hit them where it hurts with a butcher's knife that was sharper than a katana blade, they did it without harming any civilians. If anyone was harmed, it was from the people trying to go into the burning and booby-trapped containers that were self-destructing like a Bond movie. Tell me what you think down below. Bring in the comment section on how many you think were destroyed. It's definitely higher than 15. There were at least 10 to 15 Tupolev 22s that were hit either once or multiple times. As we continue to go on, those estimates will change in the comment section, so be aware that the more information we get and as more time goes by and the more satellite imagery we can get, which no matter how hard Russia tries to scrub concrete, you can't remove the stains of these aircraft being destroyed. We will find out more accurate numbers as we go. But as far as we are, the numbers went from super high to super low and are creeping up higher and higher and higher. So tell me what you think down below. Share this with all the Russian mill bloggers so I can watch them cry and get agitated over a bald man in America calling them a bunch of whiny little babies. Have a nice one, guys. Let me know if you want to see more analyst videos like this, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.